Can you explain to me what happened the day you took your wife to the hospital? Was she acting different or complaining of anything out of the ordinary?
Basically, as soon as she woke up, she went to the washroom and said that she had thrown up and that she had a massive migraine. And she said that it was like the worst headache she'd ever had in her life. And so, like, that was like literally in a span of minutes. And then she asked me to go to the grocery store to pick up some Tylenol for her. And so yeah, the store was only a couple blocks away. And so by the time I got back from the store, she was in the bathroom leaning against the wall, and she was unconscious.
Hmm.
And so I tried to, I tried to get her to respond, but nothing was working. And so I immediately called 911,
Hmm.
and they were. I was on the phone with them for about 5 minutes or so before the two ambulances showed up, and they brought her out into our hallway, and they tried to get her to respond, but nothing would work, and so they immediately put her into an ambulance, and we started going to the hospital.
Okay. And y'all were aware that she was pregnant, correct?
Yes, yeah, that's right. So she was 22 weeks and 1 day pregnant at the time.
Oh. Have you and your wife, did y'all discuss whether she was an organ donor or anything like that? If, say, there was a situation and.
Well, so we hadn't discussed that, and then during the course of my wife being in the hospital and Ivor getting closer to being born, um, we found that back in the year 2000 that she had that she had actually signed up to be an organ donor.
Mm-hmm.
But after speaking with her parents, and ultimately at the end of the day, it became my decision whether we wanted to go ahead with that.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of we went under the assumption that like if it meant any risk to the baby, that or anything like that, that she wouldn't have wanted to do that, and so we opted to not go through with that.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe that the hospital treated your wife as if she was still a patient and not just keeping your son alive?
Yes, actually, like, because I mean, it was for 6 weeks that we saw different nurses all the time, and yeah, I mean, like they braided her hair, and and they spoke to her all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes they would just sit with her, and most of their because they were in the all right, sorry, I just got to come up here for a second. Um, yeah, most of their experience was with like the intensive care unit, and they had no experience with children really,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was actually a unique experience for them having people come up and do ultrasounds and things like that in the ICU.
Yeah.
So to them, Robin was the patient, not Ivor really.
Mm-hmm. Hello, Ivor.
He's saying
Okay. Um, do you think had they not treated her with the proper respect and care that you would have stopped with it?
that. Yeah, I mean, I think that it was like we had meetings every like sometimes we were meeting every week with like 15 doctors and five. We were meeting with like 15 doctors and five social workers every week and adjusting a plan. And I mean, like like they had no experience with it, so they were just going off of like new plans that they would create as of hoping that it would work.
Oh, you're so.
And so, yeah, I mean, they treated her with a lot of respect, and I don't think we couldn't have really gone through with it because like it's not like there was another hospital we could have gone to or anything like that. It was like this was our.
Did your son have any complications growing up as a result of his situation and what happened?
No, so he has chronic lung disease.
Mhm.
That's basically just because he was born 3 months early. His lungs just didn't have time to develop as well as they should have.
Mhm.
But he'll kind of outgrow that over the next few months or a year type thing.
Mhm.
And other than that, it's just because he was 3 months early, we just have to, for the first couple years we have to remember his actual age and then his corrected age as if he was born on time. And so, for things, so basically he just turned one a month ago, so he's technically now 13 months old,
Mhm.
but his corrected age is 10 months old. So, like as where you would expect a 13-month-old to maybe be like walking or crawling type thing, he's just on the cusp of crawling because he's more like a 10-month-old baby.
Yeah. Um, are you aware of any other cases similar to yours? Like I know there was some things that happened in Texas, and now there's a new case that happened in Ireland, and different things like that. So were you aware of this even being possible?
When we first went into it, I wasn't aware of that it was possible.
Mhm.
And then I became aware of the situation in Texas, basically because every article that was written about us basically had a link to that one.
Yeah.
And I mean the situations were just entirely different.
Mhm.
It's just it's such like I ended up speaking with some of the reporters from Ireland around the time that one happened.
Mhm.
Just because everything is so different, it's just absolutely circumstantial on whether or not it's a possibility. It really treated as you can't just think of it as like, oh, if someone's brain dead and they're pregnant, then you try and save them because it's basically it's dependent on like how did the brain damage happen,
Mhm.
and how long was like could the baby have been without blood or oxygen for any period of time and things like that.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I mean obviously like the one in Texas, it was just a different scenario because the father in that case he knew that the chances were very slim for or none really, like in their mind, and and he had medical expertise, and so in his mind there was no chance,
Mhm.
and they were wanting to honor his wife's wishes of not going through with it. And so it was just entirely different. But I actually got a chance to speak with that father, kind of through this ordeal.
Mhm.
Um, and then with the one in Ireland, I just kind of said the same thing. Where I mean, it sounds like it was the parents that were wanting to try and save the child. But it's really I think in the case in Ireland, I think she was only about 16 weeks pregnant at the time when she
Yeah.
went into the hospital. And I mean, like we had a few week period, because when Ivor went in, he was at 22 weeks and a day,
Mhm.
and like the doctors at the hospital had said that kind of until we got to like week 25 or so, it really wouldn't be like he really wouldn't be viable to even try and save because
Yeah.
he would probably have there'd be so many complications.
Mhm.
And so so at 16 weeks it's probably unlikely that they'd be able to keep her body alive for that long, even just to have a chance at it.
Yeah. So the last question would be, do you believe, and I know you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but do you believe that there should be laws to kind of cover this situation or this
Uh,
issue if it's possible to happen again, as we see it's happened in several other cases, but do you think the law
yeah,
can govern it?
I mean, I think that it's a tough situation to put a law around it. I think that it should be, um, it should kind of be a mutual choice decision between the family and the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that if like in the case in Texas, the family wanted to not do it and the hospital wanted to, and so having those conflicting things, I mean, that's not going to work out very well. And of course, if the child had been born, and it would have been out there publicly that the family had not wanted that child.
Yeah.
So that's a difficult situation. And then I mean, at the end of the day, like it's not really worth trying to pursue it just because it's what the family wants. I think that it's if the hospital decides that it's it's actually possible, and they feel like there's a good chance that the child can be born healthily, and it's what the family wants, then I think that there should be an option to go ahead and try it. But it's a tough thing to put a law around.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that they should be banning it by any means, and I don't think that they should say like, if a pregnant woman is pregnant, that automatically the law says you try and save the baby, because that doesn't work out in a lot of scenarios either.
Right. Well, that concludes my interview. That was my last question, and I really thank you